But football without fans is not. You play a football match without fans, you're getting it. It can be the greatest game in the world. If there are no people there to watch, it becomes nothing.
Into Johnson. Johnson. And a goal by Johnson. Larson. Oh, he's in. Henrik Larsson! That is sensational! Nakamura! He has done it! Isn't that just typical?
The game is over. The Rebels have won. Champions, that's who we are.
Good evening. It is the Jungle Gyms Tuesday TikTok. James, how are you doing, mate?
All right, mate. All good. Still on a high for the weekend, so hopefully that carries on into this weekend and beyond.
I would expect nothing less to the viewers. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're still on a high, like James and I, from the weekend. And of course, unless you've been living in a cave somewhere, then you would have known that Celtic won the league. Became mathematically impossible for anyone to catch us. So Celtic won the league. And it's an extended period of dominance, James, which we're all lapping up. And if anybody says, don't you get bored of it? Don't you get tired of winning? Then I would just say to them, try it and you'll see. Sample it if you can. But James, a wonderful weekend. Not the best of games, not the most convincing of victories. We know that you always have to kind of earn it at Tynecastle. And we're kind of under the cosh maybe for the first 25, half an hour. But we got there in the end. We got there with a change back line with Kobayashi and Ralston getting a rare start. But we got there in the end, and 2 goals to the goods. So happy days. Kyogo and O, our centre forward, scoring as well. Happy days, mate. But I guess tonight we can still talk about that. We can just talk about how fun it is to be champions, because you never get bored of that. There's the rumour of the new Celtic top. There's comparing this season's win to last season. How would you sum it up? Is it maybe more dramatic last season, but we'll get to that. Talking about changes this season, I know that obviously we've still got a few games to go. We've got the Rotten Mob this weekend, but people start turning their attention to the business side of things and bringing players in, getting out the weak links, if you will. So we'll be talking about that. But I guess the most recent news is the PFA Team of the Year. Have you been made aware of it? Do you know who's on the list?
I seen it the day. It's an absolute scandal in it, to be fair. It genuinely should be 11 Celtic players, and I don't think they would argue it. Genuinely, though, I honestly, I seen that Tillman's in there. Don't think he's ever turned up against us. Van Veen and Duke, whatever his name is. Obviously, they've scored a fair amount of goals, but nae Jota, nae Maeda, probably a few other Celtic players that you could state a case for as well. Johnston probably isn't in there because he's only played half a season, really. But honest to God, it could be a full Celtic 11, and I don't think they would be too surprised.
I was after the game on Saturday. I went out to my mate's house for a couple of drinks. Now he's a blue nose, and he'd been at the Rangers and Aberdeen game, and we're talking about how the season's gone, and we were saying talking about a combined backline, but I had to make a compromise for the backline. I was saying, surely Greg Taylor gets in a Barisic. Barisic has been honking. And then he says, well, if you're doing that, then Tavernier has to get in ahead of Johnson. Now, I conceded the fact, but just because I was in his house, you know what I mean, and I was the guest, but I wouldn't want Tavernier to play for us because I'd be happy with him as a backup. I think he'd be an able deputy, but I would definitely want Johnson. I love a defender who's good at defending, and Johnson has only been in the door a matter of months. He's only going to get better, and hopefully he'll be able to do as well as what Taylor does with the inverted system. But anyway, without kind of digressing too much, for anybody who's not seen the lineup, this is the PFA Team of the Year. So I guess it's voted by your fellow professionals. That's my understanding. So you've got Joe Hart in goals. You've got Taylor, Cameron Cutler-Vickers, Starfelt, and Tavernier. Tillman, Kalmak, and Rio Hatate, and up front, our only representative up front is Kyogo, and then you've got Van Veen and you've got Duck. It said Lopez, and I'm like, who the fuck is Lopez? I had to Google it, and it's that Duck Lopez. That's what the guy's name is. I think it's a travesty that Jota's not on it. Jota might not be up there in terms of goals scored, but he's pivotal. Whenever Jota's not playing, you know, you're looking around saying who's going to be our main kind of chief and creator, you know, creativity. Sorry. Maida, as you said, if this is voted by your fellow professionals, who the hell says I don't mind playing against Maida? Like, you'd be knackered, man. You'd be in an ice bath for 5 hours after playing against Maida because your body would be shot. Tavernier, I think Tavernier gets in because of the goals. That's it. Tillman, yeah, you make a good point. I think if you were to put in a Celtic midfielder to go alongside Callum McGregor and Rio Hatate, who would you have? Because we've kind of chopped and changed and Moy.
You could probably state a case for O'Reilly based on the number of assists he's had. I know he's maybe not been as good as last season, but I could be wrong, but I think he's still get the most assists for us this season. But that same token, you could probably state a case for Moy as well. The impact he had when he kind of got up to speed in the team. Granted, it was only really maybe a month or two, and then kind of fell away, and hopefully he's getting back up to speed again now. But to be honest, you had to have either the two of them or Tillman. Granted, I haven't seen a lot of him in the games where they're not playing against us, but you wouldn't notice he'd played against us, to be fair.
Yes, and to add to that, the general chit-chat for their camp is they wouldn't spend the 5 million on Tillman. I think that tells you something.
100%. It's the same with what you're saying about Tavernier as well. I've got mates as well, season books at Ibrox, and they wouldn't even have him in the Rangers team, never mind the team of the year.
And by the way, I wholeheartedly agree with this for Hugh Jamieson. Jota would be his usual jovial, good-natured self in terms of his reaction to not being in the team. At the very worst, he might drown his sorrows in the brazen head. That's as far as it goes. But to the viewers, I hope you are all doing well. Get your comments coming in. As we said, a fantastic weekend, and I hope that going back to work, you are still in that kind of jovial mindset. Hail, guys, even lads. PJ, where are you, PJ? We're forgetting what you look like these days. Just joking, pal. Street Shitter absolutely destroyed the Rotten Mob at the weekend 5-0. We will be getting on to that. And if you enjoyed Angie's coronation on Sunday, I was reading back to the Coronation Cup back in, was it 1953? I'm not saying that because I know off the top of my head, only because I was reading about it recently. So Jock Stein was playing in the Celtic team, and the Coronation Cup back in the early 50s, they took 4 of England's top teams. It was meant to be based on meritocracy. However, at that time in the league, Celtic were 8th. So they took the top 4 for England, which included Man U, Arsenal, possibly Newcastle, and another team. And for Scotland, they took Hearts and Hibs, Rangers and Celtic. So I think we only got there because we were obviously one of the best supported teams in the country. Otherwise, we wouldn't have really earned it. But we won it in the end. I think Rangers get put out in the first round. They get beat by Man U. So it was meant to be a kind of like a Battle of Britain, or probably what they suspected would be 2 English teams in the final. Ended up 2 Scottish teams in the final, Celtic and Hibs, which we won, of course. But Rangers get put out by Man U. And we defeated Arsenal, who I think were the English champions at the time. Hibs did very well as well. I think that was the era of the famous 5 for Hibs. Don't know much about them, but I think that was one of Hibs' best kind of periods back in the early 50s. Anyway, we met Hibs, and this game was played at Hampden, I believe. And, of course, we won. So happy days. And just quite ironic that Celtic won the Coronation Cup. If you look back at the chants recently, you can stick your coronation up your arse. Beautiful. I've never been more proud of a Celtic fan whenever I hear stuff like that. And when you make it on these platforms like fucking Piers Morgan who are saying, isn't that terrible? I'm offended. It's beautiful.
Aye, that's it. Fucking Jeremy Vine as well. And you're annoying all the right people, so you know you're going to be on the right side of history when it comes to stuff like that anyway.
Mm-hmm. Jock Stein was captain. Celtic should have been asked to defend the trophy. I don't even know what happened. So did they play it Has it been rerun, the Coronation Cup some other time that I'm unaware of? Don't know much of the history apart from that season.
I think he's been defended like the new, like
This season.
this year. Obviously, it's the only kind of coronation since.
Would they fancy my chances? We are talking about the game tonight, Real Madrid and Man City, which will be kicking off at 8. So I hope we've got your attention at least until 8 o'clock this evening. But Real Madrid, the holders of the European Cup, the most successful team in my opinion in world football, they're not even favourites against Man City. That's how good Man City are right now with that brute, the biggest guy in the playground, Haaland, who has just been running amok all season. Do you think it's Man City's to lose the Champions League this year?
Aye, I've said it all the way through. Even when Arsenal were kind of quite clear at the tap in the first half of the season, I just fancied Man City for a clean sweep. They're long overdue the Champions League, and with him up front, he's just an absolute machine. And I don't think there's any kind of aspect of his game that he's bad at. I think he'll just run out of the tap of whoever they play.
Do you think he is the best striker in the world right now?
Aye, by a mile, the new anyway. Aye.
Yeah.
I think PSG are struggling with Mbappe as well, so there probably isn't anybody coming close right now.
Mm-hmm. And I guess another semi-final, you've got Inter Milan and AC Milan. Maybe in any other time, that would have been interesting to see who'd make it to the final. But you wouldn't imagine that either of the Milan teams are going to put a dent against Man City or Real Madrid. So I think the winners of tonight are going to be the champions whenever it comes around.
Aye, I'm looking forward to that game tomorrow as well, to be fair. I watched the AC Milan Napoli in the last round. I fully expected Napoli to hammer them, to be honest, and obviously they put them out. But I think AC Milan, I think they might have took 4 or 5 off Napoli in the league as well a few weeks ago, so that should be a good game tomorrow. Yeah,
aye. For Hugh, Carlo Ancelotti is a wily fox, though. Madrid can always pull a performance out on the big stage. I hope they do. I know that a lot of people hate Real Madrid and, fair fox, but I'm not a fan of Man City. And I just find it quite amusing that Pep Guardiola hasn't been able to win the Champions League without having Messi and Iniesta and Xavi, etc., etc. So I take amusement out of that. If you read, funny how Piers Morgan's moral compass seems to stop working when it comes to hacking dead children's mobile phones, just as long as Celtic don't diss the king, though. Can't argue with that. Can't argue. And you can never underestimate Real Madrid in the big cup. Anyway, moving away from the Champions League, of course, we've got a very important game, in my opinion, this weekend. Now, anybody who says it's meaningless, totally, I don't have time for that. I don't know how that can hold up to scrutiny. James, if anybody, I think Paddy tried to get away with it at the weekend to say it was meaningless, although he did kind of backtrack a little bit, if you notice.
That's how he's not here tonight. No, played him. Well, I seen a tweet today, to be fair, I'll not take you credit, but I seen somebody saying that their supporters protested against playing a meaningless friendly in Australia against Celtic. But they've just brought it forward and they're playing a meaningless friendly in May at Ibrox against Celtic. So there isn't anything at all on the game, obviously, but it's never meaningless. To be honest with you, I see it going one or two ways. I think we'll either go out and we've not got any pressure at all on us. Everything's done and dusted. It'll maybe free us up a wee bit. And I can see he's either going out and absolutely wiping the floor with them or just been as flat as a pancake and getting bet. I think I don't see a draw. I don't see a kind of tight 2-1, 3-2 like the last kind of couple of games. I think it goes one way or the other. Either decisive win for ourselves or we lose it.
So do you think this has got the potential? Do you think, because I don't know, familiarity beats content, this will be the 6th time that we've played each other this season. Do you think this will potentially be the most open of games, apart from the 4-0 at Parkhead at the start of the season?
Probably. I mean, I was going to say they've got something to play for, but they don't really. It's just kind of playing for pride. Obviously, they kind of need it more than us, especially with him. He'll be under some pressure, the manager. But it was similar to there was a game a few seasons ago, the game Lustig scored the cracker. Was it 5-0, 5-1? It was in that many fives. I was exactly the same getting into that game. I thought we'll either wipe the floor with them or get bet, and we went out and wiped the floor with them. The last few games against them, every game since the 4-0 game, I don't think we've played well against them at all. And we've always managed to get a result. So again, we're either due a performance against them or they'll due a result against us. So obviously, hopefully we get in the week before them. I know, I'll keep saying it until it happens.
I think it's quite telling. I know that a lot of people like to talk about the gap, you know what I mean? And, you know, fair play. It's great for banter talking about the gap. And technically, you know, the league gap, the points gap, that is bigger than last season. You know, we've won it with 4 games to spare now. But in terms of the head-to-heads, I know that they've not managed to lay a glove on us. They've only managed to draw us at their pit. We've won all the other games. We've won 4 games and we've drawn 1. But it's quite telling that despite that, we don't know how this weekend's game is going to go. I don't know if that's because we're a wee bit more pessimistic that Cameron Carter-Vickers is out, the stalwart at the heart of our defence, and maybe Alistair Johnson as well. He's out. Maybe that adds to that pessimism. I'm not too sure. Certainly, I know that they don't have anything to gain from it in terms of, you know, the league. The league is done, of course, but they will be demanding a performance from their players. They'll be demanding that Michael Beale shows them that he deserves to be their manager. So they will take some sort of consolation going into next season, scant though it may be. So I do expect them to put up a very, very good fight. But what's interesting, on the other hand, is that they're dropping players. So Kent, he get taken off at half-time against us. He'd never played against Aberdeen. And then Morelos came on against Aberdeen at the weekend, and Michael Beale he threw him totally under the bus. He said, you saw the difference that Morelos made when he came on as a sub, and the difference was no difference. You know, he basically just said that the guy wasn't trying at all. The tempo went down. So that sounds like he's not going to play him. I think Cholak, he might be injured.
He's injured.
Tillman, he's out for the rest of the season. I don't know how they're going to line up, but you do know that they're going to try like fuck. The battlers, like Arfield, for example, they're going to be trying like fuck. So, again, is that what you're saying? It can go either way?
But funnily enough, I was actually having that conversation earlier on the day, because everybody's saying, do you think Celtic will rest players, kind of maybe get like Rocco Vata game time and things like that, keep everybody fit for the cup final? And I honestly don't. Obviously, Carter-Vickers is missing and Johnson will be missing, but out with that, I think it will be full steam ahead for the rest of the season. And that was actually what I said. If you look at the team that they played at the weekend, they had their third choice keeper in, and I don't know anything about that McCrory at all, so I'm not going to say he's a bad player, but if he's no trusted him all season and he's had John McLaughlin, who's been throwing balls in for fun, and a 987-year-old Alan McGregor in front of him, then he can't be that highly thought. He's obviously just kind of in because he has to. What he said about Morelos, surely you can't then backtrack and play him. So they're not going to have a recognised striker. Their star man team of the season is away back to Bayern Munich, so he's not going to be there. Ryan Kent, you don't imagine will play. So it could end up they're playing basically the reserves against us. But again, that can go the same way. They might kind of be freed up a wee bit. They're playing for their futures essentially, but you'd like to think if they do line up with the reserves and we go as full strength as we can, then we should just run all the tap in them and hopefully take another 4 or 5 off them.
Good comments. If you read Pride or Prejudice, and the Huns will always choose prejudice since their pride went down the lavy with their stiff upper lip and their old deed club. I've seen this one already, Woodsy. So the old and the new club, they've got 168 victories, whereas we have 165. So that's another thing that I guess would appeal to the supporters getting for us getting one up on them and getting that closer. Beale's playing for the second half of the season league championship, as you said. You know that's another trophy that we're fighting for, the Beale Cup. And Hugh, I agree. Games against the Rotten Mob, they're always important. No matter if they're 20 points ahead of you or vice versa in the league, it's still a chance for Ange to make a few changes and maybe throw a curveball in. I'm against the school of thought that you play Rocco Vata to see what he's like. Now, we're going to see what Kobayashi's like because we don't have a fucking choice. But I wouldn't start people like him and Ben Summers. By all means, have them on the bench because I've already been on the bench for the past couple of games. But you start your strongest 11. You go to war. That's it. That's the bottom line, James.
100%. I think if we're going to see a kind of curveball, then it'll maybe be like Aaron Moyan over O'Reilly, or maybe an Abada
Haksabanovic is number 10.
Aye, something like that. I don't think it'll be like thrown in like Lawal, Vata, Summers. I don't think it'll be anything at all like that. I actually think Abada might be a shout, to be honest. Maybe ahead of a Jota. Maybe not, I don't know. But if we're doing it, then I think it'll be something like that.
And that's the other thing I was just thinking about Abada playing up the right wing. Well, Barisic, he never played against Aberdeen. I think it was that boy Ridvan or whatever his name is. £4 million odd quid he cost him. That's fucking banter for you. So that'd be interesting to see how Abada could do against him. So Kobayashi as well. How do you feel? We never spoke too much about Kobayashi. We spoke about the Hearts game, but we didn't want to bring up too much negatives because we were still on a high from winning the league on Saturday. But Sunday wasn't. But Sunday it was. But Kobayashi, what did you think of his performance? I don't think he had a shaky start. I felt a few passes went out. I think he struggled with the physicality part of the game. So what did you think of him and how he could acquit himself in this weekend's game?
To be honest, I've been impressed with him, but I don't think he was great at the weekend. As you said, a few kind of slack passes, and the Japanese boy, was it Oda? It was playing for Hearts. It was boy taken off when the red card came about. But I actually thought he played really well up against him and Greg Taylor. I thought he was pressing them really well. To be honest, if I'm being honest, I wasn't overly impressed with Kobayashi on Saturday, but I have been prior to that. I think he's absolutely strolled it up to that point. So fingers crossed it's just an off day and he'll be back to normal for this weekend.
I mean, it made me think of like the times where Kobayashi has impressed, and I think it has been games mostly at Parkhead where, you know, the sun is out, that sort of thing. Celtic are playing well, and it's easier to slot into a team where, you know, everybody's on a high, everybody's confident, you know. Kind of made me think of Greg Taylor in his first couple of seasons with Celtic, how that was the times where he flourished when everybody was playing well, when it was at Parkhead, a full house. But whenever you had to get into the trenches, then you saw the kind of the cracks in his performance. Guys in the comments, tell us what you thought of Kobayashi. So for Hugh, for Plunge, Yuki needs more games. He does, and he's going to get it this weekend. And again, we're not trying to be negative. We're just trying to kind of be measured about it. It doesn't mean, I'll put it this way, if Kobayashi gets exposed this weekend, I'm not saying he will, there's a potential, but he might not, doesn't mean he's a bad player. Just means that even like people, Rio Hitati, he needed a few games to get up to speed, and look how good he is. And again with Kobayashi, say he puts on, like he does what that Polish guy Klimala did, you know, going for your pre-season, put on the beef, you know, let's stock up, and people will be bouncing off him rather than him bouncing off strikers like he did against that prick. What's his name? The Hearts centre forward. So Kobayashi was understandably a little bit nervous. It's important not to throw him under a bus, though, and support him to integrate into the team. And that's what we're aiming to do. You know, we're not trying to throw him under a bus, just try to be measured. And, you know, as I said, he could well have a future at Celtic. It's just what's his future going to be like this weekend. That's all. And for Woodsy, full strength on Saturday. Happy to start and Vata at home to St Mirren, though. Yeah, perhaps. Beale's got Red Van. I've got a white van. Lovely. That's almost as good as hung like a tic tac. So I know we've still got a few more days before we get to Saturday, but what is your prediction, James?
Well, as I say, go 1 or 2, so go with the positive, and I'll go another 4-0.
That's it, mate. That's a great attitude.
As I say, honestly, I don't see another. As I say, the last few games, even the game at Ibrox, obviously it was nervy, it was a late equaliser. All the other games have maybe been comfortable, but still pretty close in scoreline, maybe nervy for spells. I just don't see that happening again this weekend. As I say, we are either good, play with freedom, run over the top of them and batter them, or just no turn up, and it'll be kind of end the season, keep yourself safe for the cup final. But I don't think the manager would let that happen. It's not his style. So, hopefully we just run all the tap of them.
Yeah, Ange would slaughter them if they don't turn up. And that's something. It's happened in years gone by, you know, especially under Neil Lennon. Sometimes we go there and we don't show up. Oh no, who take? Only kidding. Well, I tell you what, see if we started the likes of Ben Summers and Vata, and if they're up for it, you know.
Do you know put in Laval?
Laval, man, he gives me the fear.
I don't know. Where does this come from, this Laval hatred?
Well, from his performances, you know, like he never wronged me in a past life, but he's not impressing me. And I know that people are always eager to kind of be on the kind side of things and say, well, the guy's only young, he's only had a handful of games, he needs experience, you know, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, if you're good enough, you're old enough. And if you're old enough, you're good enough. And at the moment, he's not fucking good enough, and neither is he old enough. So keep him away. Keep him away.
I mean, was it the Legia Warsaw game, the Arthur Boric kind of testimonial thing? I'm sure it was that game he played. And don't get me wrong, he looked as if he'd never seen a football in his life before. But see, apart from that, when I've seen him for the B team, at that level, he looks like Van Dijk. Everybody looks so much smaller and weaker than him and just bounce off him. So I don't know, I've got hope for him. I think it looks all right.
In the B team, you know, if that's his level, he's a Ballon d'Or player in that type of league. Absolutely. Right, okay, so it's a dead rubber match. Some people say meaningless. Get the fuck. One thing I will say, James, is I don't want to come out of this game. God forgive me for saying it, but if we do get beat, I don't want to come out of this game and try to paper over the cracks with excuses like, oh, it was a meaningless game. We played X, Y, and Z. You know, I don't want that. I will be hurting, and I know other people will be hurting if we don't get the result. That's why it's important. Try your hardest, start your strongest. That's my... Yeah.
Aye, going in, it's just made about laying down a marker for next season, and they'll be saying obviously exactly the same thing. You could argue there's more on it for them considering they've had a terrible season. Obviously no betters, but we've got that to play for as well, an unbeaten record against them. So obviously it's no as important as the league, but that's done and dusted. So we've got records to play for and things like that. So that needs to now come through, lay down a marker for next season, and don't let them take anything off us.
Aye, true. It always hurts losing to Sevco. Yes. James, there's a picture been doing rumours on Twitter, on social media. We don't have the image to bring up to you guys. Apologies for that, but I'm sure you've already seen it. It's the rumoured new Celtic top from Adidas for next season. It looks to be like simplicity is the way forward. And saying that, you know, it's kind of difficult to rehash the hoops again and again, you know, but it looks like they're trying to bring it back to a traditional Lisbon Lion type thing where it's just simply green and white. Even the Adidas logo is white. You've got the logo as well, which is white. It kind of just fades into the background itself. What do you think of it?
I like it. I really like it. I must admit, at first when I seen it, I wasn't sure. Just with the badge, I'm like, either just have it as normal or don't have it at all. It's just a bit weird, but apparently it's like UEFA regulations and stuff like that. You need to have the badge on it. My mate was telling us, I don't know how true it is, but apparently it's some anniversary when we first started wearing the hoops or something like that. So that's why it's kind of the retro simplistic style. But no, I like it. I really like it. And I seen a leak thing that the away strip's going to be black and it had a gold badge. I don't know if it's hopefully going to be another kind of bumblebee type strip, but hopefully a good one. And know some of the other kind of efforts we've had, mind the kind of piano key effort. That was horrible.
Yes.
It was hideous. I hated that.
Yeah. Do you like the fact that they bring back the bumblebee in a different version every couple of years?
I see, to be honest, obviously apart from the original. Remember the Carlin bumblebee? It was just literally hoops. There was no really any design in it or anything. That's one of my favourite Celtic tops, like away tops. I think that was an absolute belter.
That reminds me of Andy Hinkle. Hinkle reminds me of that top.
Andy Hinkle. I get kind of Crosas, I think I get coming to mind. But no, I like that. I like that. That's one of the better ones I think we've had. Well, kind of better bumblebee ones we've had. We've had a few stinkers. As I say, the piano key one, and then there was one after it. It was like a cycling vest with, was it like lightning bolts or something? It was horrendous. We've had a few stinkers, to be fair, over the last few years. But no, I like it.
We have, and it does split opinion, but it's quite fun. I would like to go back to the days where they would release only one new strip every summer. You know, that's when it was affordable for people. But now you've got too many. We've had 4 this season. That's embarrassing. Right, okay. So we've done the PFA Team of the Year. We have done the rumoured new home top. On this day, doing it a wee bit early, but half an hour in. On this day, do you know what it is?
9th of May. I do not. Something related to
19
Lisbon, the semi-final.
No, mate, no. 9th of May 1998, Celtic 2, St Johnstone 0. That's when we stopped the 10, or in some people's eyes, we won the 1. And this was a game that we had to win. We had the opportunity to win it in the previous game. That was away to Dunfermline, where we drew 1-0, 1 each. But this time we had to win it. It was actually the highest attendance of that entire season in Scotland, 50,000 and a couple of others, but 50,000 if I were to round it down. I was at the game. What age were you, mate? I'm sorry to ask, but what age were you?
No, 98. I would have been 4. Just no 4 after, and then 5. See, weirdly enough, I'm not going to say I can remember it. Obviously, I've seen it since, but I can remember bits of it. I remember seeing my dad in the morning, absolutely buzzing, as high as a kite, nervous, heading out to the game. And then I remember no seeing him for about the next 2 weeks after it. So that's what I take away from it. That's what I can remember. Obviously, I've seen the game and the goals 100 times since, but no, I can't really remember it as such on the day.
Yeah, that's forgivable if you were only 4 years old. I remember the guy who used to sit next to me, like he was an absolute joker. Like we sat a couple of rows for the front, and so it was a perfect vantage point, you know, to heckle the opposition players when they were taking throw-ins and stuff like that. And I don't know if it was just like looking through it through nostalgia eyes, but the banter for the crowd was so much funnier back then than what it is now. I feel like I'm sitting in the family section where nobody shouts, you know, nobody swears, everybody's on their best behaviour. But the guy in particular who sat to my left, he was always funny. We'd hit out with cracking one-liners, and I'd just be giggling silently. And he was like that the entire season. But this particular day, he was nervous as fuck. He could barely look up. As the minutes were dragging on, and it was still only 1-0. But Larsson settled the nerves to an extent early. He scored in the 3rd minute. Beautiful curling, right-footed effort for outside the box. What an occasion to score such a beautiful goal like that. But then it took ages for us to get the second, to put it to bed. Harold Bratback ended up coming on in the second half, and he scored on the 72nd minute. But before that, you know, there was like a stramash inside our box where St Johnstone came very, very close to equalising. And Rangers, they were playing Dundee United on that day. They won 2-1. And if we draw points and they won, then the league title would have swung the other way. And it was the end of an era for some of their players. People like Gaza were leaving, but they'd signed people like Marco Negri. That was an Italian revolution. I think Marco Negri actually finished the season the top scorer with like 32 goals. I don't suppose you'd be able to take a stab, or even the viewers can, if there's a promise and not to cheat. If you could tell me who might have started the game for Celtic. But James, any obviously we'll get well, I'll tell you what, Harold Bratback, he's one as a sub.
Right.
Larsson, of course, as you know, started.
Johnny Gould in goals.
Yes.
Centre backs. Who would have been centre back? Would Phil O'Donnell have played? I know he wasn't a centre back.
Yeah. He played, mate.
Right, Simon Donnelly. That wee bit before.
Yes.
Obviously Larsson. I genuinely struggling for defenders. Jackie Mack.
You're doing well.
No, I'm struggling for centre backs. What did we before? Yeah, before them. Nah, who was centre back? Fuck, aye, big Anoni.
Oh, Anoni, I believe, actually played defensive midfield this game. Who was our captain?
Tom Boyd. Fuck, of course, aye.
There you go. You've got Tom Boyd, you've got McNamara. They were the two fullbacks. You had a certain player that was signed from Bolton who left to go to Everton.
Stubbs.
English. Stubbs, yeah. And a Scandinavian player who Larson put in his best ever 11, the centre-back. Scandinavian centre-back. He had injuries and that's why he eventually...
Oh, we cost
retired
the
early.
guy.
No.
No?
Mark Reaper, mate. Mark Reaper.
Oh, fuck.
A certain European Cup winning midfielder.
Paul Lambert, of course, aye. Fucking make me look stupid here.
I'm sorry. Mjällby, I think Mjällby signed the following season under Joe Venglos. And a certain midfielder who played for Scotland in 1998. Not a Celtic-minded midfielder, but he did a job for us. He had 2 false front teeth.
Oh, Craig Burley. See, fun of that enough. Fucking, we were doing it. That's totally going off on a tangent. Celtic played Bolton. It was somebody's testimonial. I couldn't tell you who it was. It was a Bolton player. And we went down to the Reebok. And we were at the game and it was after it. Larson was there. Larson played. In fact, you can't see it, but I've got the picture up in that wee kind of black frame at the top there. And after the game, it was still like the old disposable kind of wind-on cameras. And after the game, we were out meeting the players and Henrik Larsson came out after this fucking crowd and ruined Henrik Larsson. And that's where that picture is up there. It's a picture with me, my dad, and Henrik Larsson. But we're talking away, brand new. I was still a young boy at the time, and I'm fucking pulling my dad away. Like Craig Burley was my I fucking think he's a dick now if he's commentary and all that. But pulled him away, and I'm fucking cuddling onto Craig Burley as a wee guy. I'm like, get a picture. Dud spool. Last one in the picture. Didn't get a picture of Craig Burley. Gutted, greeting all the way home.
Yeah, I feel bad for you. See that game actually, the Celtic and St Johnstone. I'm pretty sure, like obviously, the fans ran onto the pitch. Everybody was going wild. I am certain that Craig Burley went down the tunnel at the end of the game, having taken off his top and he'd also taken off his shorts as well. He went down the tunnel in his underwear. I'm trying to Google. So, Bolton Wanderers 1, Celtic 1. This will be August 1998. Does that sound roughly right?
Aye.
The testimonial on behalf of a former Rangers defender. Why the fuck would you pick?
Is it Jimmy Phillips?
Jimmy Phillips. Jimmy Phillips. A former Rangers defender who wanted Celtic rather than... fair enough. Maybe he wasn't really a Rangers fan. The debate was amongst the support about playing a testimonial for an ex-Ranger. Many believed this showed how out of touch Jock Brown actually was. I'm sure a lot of people would agree how out of touch Jock Brown was. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
The only reason I was helped, my cousin was a youth player for Bolton at the time. I don't even know, he might have been on the bench. I couldn't tell you, to be honest. So we went down and kind of made a weekend there. I actually got on the park at half time. That's another photo I've got kicking about somewhere. Lofty, the Lions, their mascot. He took me on and walked around the park at half time.
Excellent, mate. Excellent. That's something memorable. McNamara scored for Celtic right at the end, 87th minute, and apparently 4,500 Celtic fans made the journey for the game. Brilliant. Love memories like that. Burley was an important player. I think he got the Players' Writers Player of the Season for the 97-98 game. Actually, I took a screenshot, mate. Sorry for this, but I was looking at the top scorers of that season, and so you've got Marco Negri who get 32. You had this player for Dundee United with 18, Kjell Olofsson. Never heard of him. Now Larsson gets 16, along with Andy Smith of Dunfermline, both on 16. Now Tommy Coyne, he was playing for Motherwell at the time. Tommy Coyne got 14. I think he could have done a job for us compared to the likes of Harold Bratback. I know that we had in that season, Darren Jackson was playing for us that season, but I think his his season was curtailed because of the brain disease that he had, which obviously he's made a recovery from. But even Owen Coyle, he get 11 for Motherwell that season, and your man Craig Burley, he get 10 alongside Simon Donnelly, who get 10. And that was the season that we won the Coca-Cola Cup at Ibrox against Dundee United 3-0. And then, so the Rotten Mob, they'd not won any silverware, and they played Hearts at the end of that season for the Scottish Cup, and Hearts ended up beating them. So that was lovely to see. Tommy Coyne was good in the hoops. What is that? Was Tommy Coyne early 90s? Yeah, maybe like 91, 92. Around the same time as Jerry Craney, perhaps. Aye. Thank you. How you doing, mate? How you doing? Right, okay, so James, I guess we can kind of look towards the business end of the season. I know we'll spend a lot of this summer talking about incomings, the rumours, that's an exciting part, the only exciting part of the summer, whenever you don't actually have live football to contend with. But if I was to kind of give you a list of the names for players out on loan right now, firstly, I think it's quite alarming the amount of players that we have out on loan. It would be nice if we kind of streamlined the squad a little bit here, but tell me, what's your thoughts on the potential of these players, whether it's a youngster and they've got potential to come back, or whether it's just for the homegrown rule alone that we want them back on the bench, or players who've still got transfer value that we want to ship on. So go through the list. I'm happy to repeat it for you to remind you, but we've got Barkas, Scales, Montgomery, Sorrow, Urigidi, my pal, Johnny Kenny, is that his name? Johnny Kenny, Ajeti, Shaw, Mikey Johnson, and Gucci. So we'll start off with Barkas. He's been in the news recently because he's been doing well with Utrecht, apparently, but they are pleading poverty right now, or they might not have the money. Apparently, we're looking for 4 million, which I think would be a pretty penny, considering we bought him for 5. I think Houdini would do well to get 4 million for him. What's your thoughts on Barkas, mate?
That's pretty much it. I'd take ginger bottles for Barkas, never mind 4 million. But I did see we're linked to a striker for Utrecht. I don't know if it's the paper talk maybe putting 2 and 2 together and using Barkas as part of the deal. The signing strikers for that league always kind of gives me the fear, because for every kind of Luis Suarez or every Giacomakis, there's a Wilfred Boney at Swansea and City, but it's a kind of very hard league to judge strikers. They're very, very hit and miss, so I'd be a wee bit kind of pessimistic with that, should I say. But Barkas, no, I'd take genuinely fucking magic beans in, and I'd take anything that's gone for Barkas just to get him off the books.
Magic beans. That reminds me of James and the Giant Peach. Is that fucking
fucking Jack and the Beanstalk? Is that no Jack and the Beanstalk?
Yeah, you're right. Jack and the Beanstalk, yes, mate. Although I did enjoy James and the Giant Peach when I was a youngster. They did make it into a decent movie. Fucking rolled out, man. Fucking hell. Right, okay, so Barkas, we'll sell him. We'll try and get as much money as we can. But even if we can't get much money, I think everybody would have the fear if they came back to Lennoxtown. An interesting one, Liam Scales.
Don't think he's good enough. I think if we're serious about wanting to progress, especially in Europe, Liam Scales, no saying he's a bad player, I'm not saying any of them are bad, but Barkas is a bad player. I'm not saying anybody else is a bad player, but I just don't think any of them, to be honest. If we're serious about progressing, then I don't think Liam Scales is the answer.
Okay, well, a serious question then, talking about progressing. If you've got Kobayashi, Welsh, and Liam Scales, where does Scales rank in those 3? Lawal as well, if you want.
But you'd probably arguably have him above Lawal, but he'd be down at the bottom anyway. As I said, honestly, it's the same across the board. I've seen a lot of talk about people fancying another shot for Mikey Johnson, but fucking Mikey Johnson is going to be the world's oldest wonder kid. I mean, what is he, 24? And we're still talking about him as if he's like a 16, 17-year-old boy. I know he's maybe had a good spell, but I mean, the guy's had 10 last chances at Celtic, so surely it's time. Aye, surely it's time to if he's had a decent spell there. I don't know obviously what the kind of loan contract will be like, but if there's any kind of form of agreement in place, or if he's maybe got admirers now, then he's another one I'd be looking to ship on. But I would caveat with that by saying, out of the ones that is out on loan, as you say, for the homegrown quota, he is probably the most likely to get a kind of look in pre-season.
Mm-hmm. Fair dues. I'd imagine Aberdeen would want to make that signing permanent. Whether they can afford them or not, I don't know. Liam Scales kind of started his professional career late. I think he would, if there was better wages offered down in England in the Championship, I think that he might go down there, and it's understandable that he would. I'm not sure if Aberdeen would have the money for him, and I think we would at least tell me how much we bought him for, but I think we would at least want $1 million, maybe 1.5 for Scales.
I don't think so. I don't think it'd be as much as that. I think you'd be maybe talking about. Nah, I don't think so. I think anything from Aberdeen, anything above $500,000, I think he'll be away.
I don't know if we'd be losing money if that was the case. So maybe somebody can tell us how much we bought Skills for. Adam Montgomery. Now, I don't know fuck all about how he's been doing for St Johnstone, who I believe but that tells me that he's not ripping it up for them. What is his attitude?
I actually seen him get in the team of the week. It might have been Skies or some paper, but he was in somebody's team of the week this year for this week for the SPL. But I'm exactly the same. I couldn't tell you, but he's one. See, when he was here and he was playing, he played left wing and then he get pushed back to fullback. Never understood it. I just didn't think he ever looked promising in the slightest.
Yeah, Montgomery, who started off playing under Ange at the start whenever we had that bit of a defensive crisis. Sorrow. Where is he playing? Is he playing? Did Neil Lennon sign him for that, like on loan for that Cypriot team? Where the fuck is Sorrow playing this trade right now?
Was it FC Aruca or something like that? It was. I think it's Portugal as well. I'm sure that's where he is. I again couldn't tell you anything about him. Did they not have a phone out with the manager a few months ago, something like that? Or have I just totally made that up? I'm sure there was something about him a couple of months ago. See, to be honest with you, I didn't even realise he was out on loan. I thought he was away on a permanent. But
he doesn't seem like the type of character to fall out with people, man. He just seems so like happy and nice.
Do you think it's absolutely frightening though? See, thinking back kind of maybe 2 years ago, maybe just a wee bit more, but Sorrow was our great hope. He was our shining light, and fucking look at how we are now. Like, mind there was a campaign and everything to get me start games and stuff, starting at Ibrox. It's frightening looking back on it. It's not even that long ago.
It's funny how people lower their standards so much. I don't know if we'll get Neil Lennon to blame for that, or maybe just the players at that point, but things were that bad. People were so disillusioned that they thought Turnbull and Sorrow are the way forward. Fucking hell, man. And you could be further for the truth now, you know what I mean? Like that's going back to the dark ages, if like they were your two favoured centre midfielders, man. Jesus God, Sorrow. Yeah. I think it was whenever we realised it was never going to work for him was the away game to Real Betis, when I think we were all saying bring him off because he's going to get sent off. Every time he go in for a challenge, it's like, there's a yellow. Just he had no discipline about him. Not that he was like a hothead, but he just kind of went in and like studied people and things like that with a big smile on his face.
Aye, the best thing he ever done for Celtic. I want to say was it been Lille? No, it couldn't have been that. Would have been the COVID season. But there was a game we brought him off the bench, and I was sitting at Park keeping him, trying to get Bet365 to load. And I got a tenner on him to get booked. I think there was maybe fucking about 3 seconds left of the game, and he was 10-1, so he won me £100. That's the best thing he's ever done this Celtic talk for me.
Awesome, mate. Awesome. He who dares. Okay, moving on to Sorrow. Urigide, you know my thoughts on the guy. First time I saw him, I'm like, he's not a footballer. Certainly not a Celtic quality footballer. I think I made my mind up at the home game against Real Betis. I watched it in the grounds, and you've got a different vantage point. He looked a bit better on camera because I came home and I watched the game back. But I was watching it, and I was watching his position whenever you had he was up against like a tricky winger, so he'd be watching his position. He's like checking his peers in the back line to make sure that he's not playing anyone offside. And I'm just watching him like, you are not a Celtic player. And the way that he would dribble up the park, he had this galloping style. I'm like, man, you're just weird as fuck. So I've made my mind up early days about Urhoghide. Would you disagree with me? I think he's in Belgium, perhaps.
Aye. No, I wouldn't disagree with you. That Real Betis game's probably his highlight. I think I actually thought he was all right that night. Did Shaw play that night as well? Would that be right in saying?
Yes, he did. Yeah,
because I thought the both of them, but it's obviously the same conversation. I think the two of them, that is by far and away their highlight and a Celtic top. That Urhoghide, when, as you say, when he was dribbling, he was like a horse dribbling a beach ball. He just never looked in control at all. But I don't see a future for him.
Johnny Kenny, did he go back to Ireland? I don't know if it was an Ange signing. Not that I really care. I don't know enough of the boy. Don't know enough of them. I don't know what age he is. If he's pushing 20 by now. But if you buy a guy for Ireland, and then within a year, maybe within less than a year, you're passing them back to Ireland on loan. It's not the greatest sign. At the very least, you'd want to do what we did with Scales, bring him over from Ireland. If he's not working out, if he's not ready for the first team, put him to a Scottish team and see what happens. Like Kareem rises to the top. I did with Ayer, but with Kenny, I don't know. I just don't get any good feeling about passing him back to an Irish team. Ajeti, I would imagine that's quite the same as Barkas. He's had enough opportunities. I don't know how much we're going to get. It'd be great if we got a few million for him. Sturm Graz, I think he's that, who were half a decent team in the mid-90s, but Ajeti,
I think they've said I think they're in the same boat as us. To be fair, I don't think he's done a thing for them at all. But he's another one. Honestly, I'd take anything at all for him. Just don't like you guys said on here before, and I'll no change my opinion. It would come back and score 30 goals a season. I'll no change my opinion. We drew with Dundee United at Parkhead last year, and there was somebody was running through the ball. Can I tell you who it was? And Ajeti, all he has to do is run forward, and he's in acres of space. He's got a one-on-one with the goalie, and he actually stopped and ran onto the defender. So he was marked out the game and didn't get past. The guys get heart of a moose, absolute shite bag. Not for me.
Heart of a mouse. The boy Luke Shaw, I think that's his name. I thought he looked like a hollow footballer. I didn't see anything about him at all. He's tall, but he's skinny as fuck. He played in that Betis game at Parkhead. I'm no impressed with him. He went on loan to Motherwell. Don't know if that was last season, but I was speaking to one of my workmates, and she said that he didn't do anything impressive at all. So I guess like Shaw, it's one of the ones. See, whenever we're taking advantage of that rule, that cross-border rule, I get why we do it, but it's like we're taking a punt. I don't think it reminds me of people like Ben Hutchison, who we got from Middlesbrough.
Wonder Kid.
Yeah. I don't get it, man. It never works out. It worked out with Dembele, but he wasn't. Everybody knew he had a reputation. He was already rumoured to go to Tottenham at one point. He's different. He was the outlier for that kind of that transfer policy of ours. I don't think I've ever seen it really come to fruition, this cross-border policy. But Shaw's another one I would get rid of. Better off with Martin Shaw from a TV show, The Professionals. Yeah, it says it all, mate. Who else have we got? Mikey Johnson. We've already said it, or you've already said it. It's his 100th millionth opportunity. Do you think? Where do you think? Okay, if we rule him out for Parkhead, where do you think his level will be?
East Kilbride or something. Nah, he'd get an SPL team, no bother. I don't doubt that, and I think the fact he's. See, to be fair, I can't remember who it was he played, but when he came on for Ireland, he did look good, but nah, too many last chances. Out with even that stuff. His injury record obviously is horrendous. He's 24 now. I'm sure he's 24. So it isn't even as if he's. Like, I wouldn't even class that as a young player anymore. That you should be kind of established in the first team by that age. And nah, just no.
You're right, mate. He just turned 24 last month. And, you know, if we think of like some of the wingers that we've had, people think of like how good Sean Maloney was and Aidan McGeady when they were 24. They were like starters. Nah. It's fun. I'm happy for him that he started for the Republic of Ireland, but I think it just kind of shows how shite they are right now as well. I hope he does well. You know, I hope his injuries aren't recurring and he can manage to make a living for the game. You know,
Oh, absolutely, I need him, but nah, it just doesn't do it for me. It just him or not, and because don't get me wrong, he has got talent, but it was when he used to beat a player and then go back and beat him again, and then run it out for a goal kick, and I'm like, nah, just no.
Lanky, look, to be honest, man, it's all about opinions, and if everybody's saying the same thing, it's fucking boring. So you're saying he can come back, I know that there's a player in him. If we do that, when will we see the best of him, you know?
See, to be fair though, I mean, I'm sitting saying that. I mean, somebody could just as easily turn around and say they've got rid of Tony Ralston, which is a completely valid point. I think they're actually the same age. They must be the same age because they came through together. So it's a fair point. But just Disney do it for me.
And the last guy on the list, who has again been very, very unfortunate with injuries his full career, he even had a time under Marcelo Bielsa with Leeds, is Gucci. Fuck off with that Ireland. Sorry, fuck off with Ireland bashing. Aye, I know. Gucci, mate. Again, no ill will to the boy, but it's just not worked out for him every time he's come over to the UK.
Aye, to be fair, I mean, in his time at Celtic, it's just more bad luck than anything in it. Just with his injuries. What was it, Alloa? He took a badge and never really came back for it. So, you can't even say he's a bad player because we haven't really seen enough of him, if anything. It's just unfortunate with him. Okay, well that kind of concludes it. I don't think we've said anybody. I think we're either punting everybody or we're saying they're not good enough for us, the youngsters. So yeah, not a resounding success for the lone players, but hopefully Ange looks at things and just says, look, a lot of you, and he's capable of that, those kind of harsh conversations where he'll just, you know, put it plainly to them. I think back in Australia, like one of his best friends, he told him, you don't have a future at my club, and that was one of his best friends, but he had to do it. It's his profession, and the way that he said it to him, you know, he took it well. I was talking about this today earlier. There is going to need to be some of the conversations you would imagine in this summer. Out with the players, I know technically they're still on the books, they're all on loan, but see, if you look at our current squad, I don't think we have, with the exception of James McCarthy, there isn't anybody that you would be rushing to show the door. And it's the first time it's been that way for a while. Everybody's played their part. I mean, the majority are saying that we'd maybe need an upgrade in Joe Hart, myself included. But at the same time, I'd be sad to see, if he was to leave, I'd be sad to see Joe Hart leave. I'd be sad to see Abada leave. There was rumours, albeit probably shite, about Hatate today. You'd be sad to see them all go. So I think there is going to be a few difficult conversations come the summer.
I wouldn't get rid of Turnbull, and I know that Turnbull is not good enough for the first 11, but I think he serves a purpose, and that might sound like a Machiavellian attitude there, but in terms of the homegrown numbers, you know, for Europe, I think it's ridiculous the homegrown quota that you need, especially for a Scottish team. It's different for an English team or an Italian or Spanish and Portuguese, because they're bigger countries, you know what I mean? And proportionally, they're going to produce more quality players. We've got a very, very small pool of talented Scottish players to work with. And that's why I think, although Turnbull might not be the best, he might be the best at Motherwell. And that's why we bought him. We took a punt on him, paid good money for him, right enough. He's good enough for our bench, and that's where his purpose lies. Whether that meets his ambition, I don't know, but I would still keep him for that.
I'm the same. I like David Turnbull. I think he's maybe not divisive, but I think there's maybe some kind of sections of support that maybe don't rate him. I'm not saying he should be starting every game, but as a squad player, I think he's more than good enough. I did took the words out of my mouth. As a squad player, then if you're bringing Turnbull off the bench, then I have no problem with it. If he's starting every week, then I'd be looking for a wee bit better. But on the bench, I have no issue with it.
Aye, for San Fran, I agree with you to an extent. As a starter, as James said, as a starter, it's not good enough. And if we ever starting Turnbull in games, then you know that there's something up, there's something afoot, there's something wrong. There must be injuries galore. He's not the Ange type of player, but can Ange bring in his type of player to sit on the bench, or is Turnbull just a necessary to be there? If he wants to go, he'll go, but for the time being, I would keep him. But I get what you're saying. And for Sean the Mac, punt Turnbull too. If we punt him, though, we're going to have to replace him. We're going to have to go out and get somebody. Would you bring in somebody of a lesser quality? I don't know. He's good enough to come off of the bench just to kind of see a game out.
Aye.
Is he Champions League quality? Definitely fucking not. He's not. That's
the thing. So I was just going to say, that's the thing. Moving into this kind of summer, this transfer window, if we're signing players, maybe with the exception of striker, I wouldn't mind this. Maybe I don't know what age he is, but if he's still young enough, maybe taking a punt for $1 million or a couple of million on that duck for Aberdeen. Because I think Kyogo is nailed on regardless of who we sign. Kyogo's going to be our number one striker. But outweigh that, I think everybody else that we sign maybe has to be coming in to improve, walk into the first team and improve the first team. This summer, I don't see any point in just signing players that are maybe going to be for the future or squad players and things like that.
For Hugh Jameson, that comment makes me think of Liam Neeson and that movie. What was that movie? I have a unique set of skills. What was it?
I can see.
What was that movie? I have a unique set of skills.
It wasn't Taken, was it?
Taken, yes. Right, okay. Somebody put up a comment about Champions League, and I know it's like kind of Pandora's box, you can get lost in it. But somebody said we need 4 signings for the Champions League. Let me just find it. Sorry for this. It's the most annoying thing about a podcast, trying to find a comment that you said that you'd go back to. Fucking hell. Right. Okay, well, the comment was like, how many? Thanks, guys. Taken. It was taken. How many for a respectable performance in the Champions League? Now, James, I know that you said that you would take third. You'd bite hand off for third. That was for last season. Say again, that's your ambition for this season. I'm not citing you for that. But if you wanted to get third in the Champions League group stage for this coming season to take you into the UEFA to fulfil Paddy's ambition of winning the Europa Conference League or whatever it is, how many quality signings? Now, I don't mean blue chip, like buying like your top of the range, but reasonable. How many good signings would you want to strengthen our 11 to finish respectably to kind of grab that third place?
Well, I've from the comment there, it was Alan Woods. It's 4 quality first 11 signings: centre half, fast centre mid, right winger, and a striker. I wouldn't be too far away for it. I'd add in a goalkeeper. I'd like us to get a goalkeeper, another centre half. In terms of centre mid, I would maybe like us to. I don't think we will, because I think we'll have got numbers there. But seeing just in terms of an out and out kind of number 10, and to be honest, I think Haksabanovic could be the guy. I'd like to see him get a run in there. A right winger is an absolute must. We don't really have one at Way Forest, and a striker. I don't think. I think we will sign a striker, but I don't think we'll go out and spend millions on a striker, because I think, honestly, I think we could bring in fucking Lewandowski and would still see Kyogo getting the nod for Ange. So I wouldn't be against bringing in a third striker as a kind of a backup. Maybe, as I say, maybe the Duck or the Duke or whatever his name is for Aberdeen. wouldn't be too bad a shout if he's young enough, but I don't see spending millions on a striker this summer.
Digressing here, what do you think the best film is that Liam Neeson's been in? I thought Michael Collins was great. I think that was one of the first I've seen him in. What else has he been in? You know, apparently he turned down James Bond whenever they went for Pierce Brosnan. You seem pissed off with that question. It's like, oh.
No, fuck no. I'm not a big film buff, to be honest. There's fucking millions of classics. I thought I'd get off with your film topics when I got Taken. That was quite impressive for me. I'm not a big film buff at all.
You did very well, very well. See, whenever you ask someone what's their favourite film and they say Shawshank Redemption, like, I know it's a good film, man, but fucking broaden your horizons. It's the most cliched of movies ever out there. Saying that, I always say Godfather Part 1, so maybe I'm guilty of that as well.
Never seen it. Mate, honestly, I must be the only guy in Scotland that's never seen Braveheart.
Rob Roy, man, that was a classic. Fucking, I tried to read the book and I struggled, but the movie was great. Gangs in New York. He was in it for 5 minutes, wasn't he? Daniel Day-Lewis was amazing in Gangs in New York. Everything else about Gangs in New York was it was atrocious. Duke is best pals with Jota. I wonder if that is the case. Right wing, I agree with you every day of the week. Right wing, I don't think we've bought a proper right winger in a while, but I think all the wingers we've got, they all favour the left wing. Like Jota, Maida, Haksabanovic, even Mikey Johnson, who will not be coming back, they all favour the left wing. It's only Jeremy Forrest who enjoys playing on the right, and sadly the writing's on the wall for him. You know, wish him all the best. Fantastic career at Parkhead, but right winger, we're going in the Champions League. Oh, of course, Abada. Apparently Abada wants to leave. It's kind of been quiet in the Western Front for him. I don't know where we'd go. I don't think we would get 15 odd million for Abada, because if he's not good enough for our starting 11, he's good enough for the bench, but you would still start Jota and Maida on the wings. I don't think Abada... I'm not going to dissect Abada's performance this season, although we'll still probably get Young Player of the Year. But right winger, we need to buy a proper right winger. I would love to get a guy with pace. I hate having wingers who, you know, Jota is great, but he doesn't have pace. I would love to have a winger with pace to replace Abada. So that Haksabanovic is a number 10. That's an interesting one. Maybe it rules out having to buy a new number 10. Would you buy a strong centre half, someone who's better than Kobayashi to challenge Starfelt, or Starfelt and CCV? Are you happy with the status quo?
I'll probably take a bit of stick for it, but I'd be signing somebody to replace Starfelt, and I'm going to kind of contradict myself. I'm no Starfelt's biggest fan, but he is solid. But it's like, I think I said it last week as well. We're going into games and it's like, Starfelt's solid, but he's got a mistake in him. And see if we want to progress and get to that next level. We're not getting into the games. Carter Vickers is solid, but he's got a mistake in him. So I don't get why Starfelt gets a pass for it. So to be honest, if we're serious about progressing, then I would have no problems with Starfelt as a backup. But I personally would be looking to sign another centre half to walk into the first team.
A bit of a rift in the comments. Daniel Day-Lewis was amazing in Gangs of New York. However, Lanky disagrees. He said that he was rank rotten. What was it called? Bill the Butcher. He was the best part about that movie. Sorry, James. Coming back to it. I think if anybody's capable of making that kind of harsh decision, it would be Ange Postecoglou. And as much as Starfelt is having a great time in life right now, we know what we're talking about here. You know, things could change. His bird could be bought for down south, and he could be relegated to the bench. But of course, you know, I'm not wishing it upon anybody. But again, if you're serious about getting better as a team, then you want to strengthen your first 11. Look at what we've done under Postecoglou. The first season we won the league. We came from a position of weakness. We rebuilt. And Ange was still getting to know the players. They won the league. And this season, we've done even better. We've already won the same 2 trophies as last season, but now we're in a shot for the treble. Rangers have not laid a glove on us. we're getting better and we've done it with more games to spare and in style. So what is the expectations for next season? We want to do better in Europe, of course. But in order to do that, you need to get better as an 11, as the depth in the squad as well. So you need to make those harsh decisions. And, Ange does not give a toss about sentimentality. So that's another thing. So
just looking in the comments, sir, and as I say, Sean, I agree with you. But as I say, I'm going to contradict myself. I like Starfelt. I think for the most part he is solid, but it's just we know he's got that mistake in him, and it's just accepted. But nobody thinks that Carter Vickers has got that mistake in him, so I don't get why it's all right for Starfelt to maybe have a mistake every game or every couple of games, and especially next season, as you've said there, it will be the Champions League. I know we're saying Europe, but Ange will see it as progression in the Champions League. And obviously we had our debate last week. And that will be the level he see himself at. So I just think if that's the level, then we'll need better.
It's an interesting debate, and I think it's about what's your ambition for Celtic and realistic ambition. Starfelt has been immense this season. Nobody's going to disagree. Yes, he looks clunky. Aesthetically, it looks a wee bit, wrong, but he still gets the job done. He loves defending. He's been brilliant this season and last. But if we are to make that step up, are we afraid to make that step up? To make that step up, we need to make harsh decisions. If you think Starfelt was a be-all and end-all, which I know that you're not saying, James and to Sean the Mac, if you think it's the be-all and end-all, then we don't upgrade upon that. But if you think, even Jota's untouchable right now, but there might be one day, if he still continues to stay at Celtic and we get progressively better, forgive me for saying it, but maybe there's one day that we might have to upgrade upon Jota. It's unthinkable right now, but there might come a day. That's just how things go. You need to keep all your players hungry. That's another thing as well. And it's difficult to keep hungry whenever you're the best team in the league as well.
Aye. If you look through our starting 11 now, then even the squad, I don't think there is a glaring, in terms of the starting team, there isn't a glaring weakness. So we're in a good place. It is just kind of, obviously, as I say, you want to get better.
Aye, that's it. Like Kyogo is, the man right now, but there might come like 1 year, maybe 2 years where we may have to upgrade upon him. It's just the nature of football, I guess. Anybody in the team that you would say you deserve a new contract? What about people like, obviously, people who you'd be afraid of leaving, like Rio Hatate? Those fucking rumours on social media, I don't have time for that. But people like even like Greg Taylor, I don't know what he's on right now, but I think he's done well enough to maybe earn a wee contract renewal. Obviously, I don't have like monopoly money here, and I can just hand it out willy-nilly. But I think there are some players who are deserving of, they've showed their faith in us. They've acquitted themselves well, and maybe we can reciprocate that.
Aye, 100%. Greg Taylor would be on that list. I think in terms of looking through the squad, most of them have only come in the last kind of couple of years. They have been signing, so I imagine they'll probably have still a wee while left on their deals. But I'd be all for rewarding Greg Taylor. He's been excellent.
Some people, whenever they come in, they make such a great impact that you're eager to renew them on a contract. Would you give, I think I know the answer to this, but would you give Haksabanovic a renewed contract?
Sign him up for life. Nah, I wouldn't. I like him. I really do think there's a good player in there. But he's just in the door. If we're being honest, he's no really set the header right. So I would maybe looking to get him on a new deal now. If he comes into the team next year and he looks apart, then maybe we can revisit it in January or the summer. But I wouldn't be doing it now.
Fair dues, mate. Fair dues. Right, okay. Guard of honour. Now, people have been talking about this, and specifically James Tavernier, who back whenever they were languishing in the dark, dank leagues of Scottish football, he praised Alloa. I think it was Alloa, maybe Annan. I don't know, a team starting with A, for giving them a guard of honour. And I think in the Championship, whenever Hearts pipped him to promotion to the top flight, they gave Hearts a Guard of Honour as well. And people were making the point, well, are you fucking well going to give us one at Ibrox? The answer is no. He's not going to do it. He's never going to do it. I get the banter behind it. We would never do it to them. It would make me sick if that happened. And it made me wonder, when did this start? When did the tradition start? Was that an American thing? And apparently the Guard of Honour is not exclusive to the modern era. And it occurred back as far as 1955 when Manchester United provided one for Chelsea. So that's who we've got to blame. United continued the tradition back in 1991 as they celebrated the Gunners' league title win, giving them a Guard of Honour at Highbury. And the fact that Arsenal beat Liverpool to the title may have had something to do with it. Guard of Honour, I think it's a load of pish, but I get the banter aspect. What's your thoughts on it? Do you actually have any expectations in Rangers doing it for us?
Nah, there's a lot of fucking namby-pamby nonsense in it. Even just across the board and fit, but I hate it. I seen it with Neil Warnock getting one at Huddersfield and Haaland going off as a sub after the game when he broke your record. Nah, it's just so phony, tin pot, American. Doesn't do it for me. And as you say, it's not always been a thing. It feels as if it's only been the last maybe kind of 10 years or so that it's been a thing. Would I be right in saying in the COVID Cup season they'd won the league before the last game of the season and we never done it? And it just feels as if every year that it comes about, there's always a debate and everybody knows the answer, but we still debate it. Never going to happen. Never will happen. Should never happen. Won't happen.
It's a load of pish. It's a load of pish. The rotten mob line in the tunnel with wee tricolours, get it done. When pigs fly, mate. Guards of Honour should go the way of players with waxed moustaches and old-style water-absorbent footballs that become more like medicine balls. Sorry, I didn't read that fluently, but I'm not going to do it again. Point taken. Point taken, mate. Yeah, so it's not going to happen, but it's a bit of banter. It's quite funny seeing the hypocrisy of Tavernier. Better just not seeing anything at all, because you know eventually you would have to do it for Celtic if you have those principles. James, we've been on for an hour and 19 minutes. I believe that the Champions League game has already started with Real Madrid and Man City. Any idea what the score is right now before I check?
It is
no. Nothing each. Well, we've been on for an hour and 19, almost an hour and 20. I guess we're going to wrap up for this evening unless you've got any other comments. What do you think the viewers, by the way? I know that it's not the end of season podcast, but without you guys kind of giving us your contributions, it's just two idiots talking away. Thank you very much, James. You're not an idiot, it's just me. Thank you very much for all the comments.
Even Plunge, even though he says I talk shite, so fair dues.
He loves you, really. He loves you, really. Thank you very, very much for all the comments, and again for all this season as well. Thanks. A lot of love. It's really not that much fun whenever it's just you guys on your own. Thank you for that. I hope you're all doing well. So, James, this coming Saturday, an early kickoff at Ibrox. You said 4-0. Do you really believe that?
I do. I will. As I say, it goes one or two ways, and I'm not thinking about the other way. I genuinely think if we go, the manager will have us right up for it. We'll be going full strength. I just think we'll be playing with a wee bit more freedom. Everything's done and dusted in terms of the league. Just go, run all the tap at him, show what we're all about. In fact, to tell you what, I'm that confident I'll go 5-0.
Well, I know that the Polish last weekend were intervening in the anticipation of riots, but I think if we were to win 4-0 or 5-0, as you put it now, then there would be riots. I think the Polish would be intervening in the game if the score was going to go that way.
What's your prediction?
As Daniel Day-Lewis would say, there will be blood, but as we know, benches will be broken. That's what happens in Glasgow, man. No way will it allowed to be 4-0. Mate, look, I'm going to be honest. I think it could be a draw or maybe we could lose. I might get pelters for that for the guys and the viewers, from the guys in the comments. I think it could be a draw, or we could actually take a defeat this time. I hope not. James, I would love nothing more than just to beat them, even 1-0. I think there's just so much riding on it for them, and the fact that we've not been playing our scintillating best for a number of weeks. I would even go as far as to say that since the last international break, we've not been brilliant. I know that we were 4-0 up against Kilmarnock within like 25 minutes, but for the remainder of the game, you know, it just kind of fizzled out. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game in our favour. I think it'll be a tough game. I think it'll be trenches time. I hope I'm wrong, man. In saying that, Morelos is out. Kent, well, we think he's out. Kent is out, you know. McGregor's out. Tillman's out. Maybe I'm being pessimistic. I think I'm sometimes a glass half empty type of guy. So anybody taking a piss at me yet so far for that? That's plenty. I'm going to unfollow for that comment, mate. I'm sorry. I don't have a resounding confidence for this. Red, he might be on my street. He'll take a 1 each right now. For Kieran, win, fucking win. Destroy. Don't know if that was Irish or not. Destroy them. Fuck up. Mate, I would love to fuck up their summer. And when Celtic were rubbish, they would often win the meaningless games. I hope you're right, mate. I hope you're right, and I'm just being an old fuddy-duddy, man. Okay, James, you're going for 4-0. I'm going to go for 1 each, okay? Gavin,
I'd take your horn off for a 1-0. I'd take your horn off for anyone, but I'm weirdly confident, and I'm never confident getting into them, regardless of form or whatever, but I've got a wee bit of confidence getting into this.
Right. And people are talking about actual security issues as well, which is another thing. The last time we played there, one of our backroom staff got assaulted, you know. If you show on the map, will there be any of them left if it went 4-0? A big blue empty stadium with 20 minutes to go. I would love that. Well, they might not be at Ibrox to cause havoc, but you know they'll be causing the havoc in the way home. I know that some people have got a policy, don't be out in Glasgow city centre if they get beat after a Glasgow derby. I would not be fucking out if that happens. You just don't know what they're capable of, man. Goblins they are. 1-0 is good. 7-0 is obviously better. And they will launch things at our players. Aye. Fuck it. I hope they all get arrested. Anyway, to the viewers, thank you so much. If you haven't done so already, I never ever say this, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't done so. But I'm sure you're all kind enough that you would have done so already. James, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Don't know why I'm thanking you. We're in it together. But, mate, good to talk to you. Good to see you.
Aye, good
we'll talk again Saturday afternoon, and hopefully, we won't have anything bad to say. Hopefully it'll be banter galore. Hopefully that will be. I'm never in Glasgow in circumstances like that, smart man. And they will try and target Celtic pubs as usual. And it's when they win, they think that the empire is back. And defeat, they usually retire to their kennels. Champions are going to lay. Get it right fucking up. Yeah, we'll end upon that note, and I'm going to watch the Champions League game. So, James, been a pleasure. To the viewers, thanks very, very much. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll meet back on Saturday afternoon for another Jungle Gyms episode. But for us, take care. And just like that Father Ted episode where he says, hold on, I can get this. Good night. I'm going to try and do the outro because normally I don't have to do this. Here we go. Over and out. And if none of you have done so, watch a Daniel Day-Lewis film. He's a great actor. Catch you.